Also this afternoon, there are clear signs that Ghana is returning once more to the dark days of power crisis, as you may call it, dumsor. That's the warning from the Ghana Institute for Public Policy Options, which says the Energy Ministry's recent excuses for intermittent power cuts in terms of electricity supply are untenable. Ghana Grid Company, in an official release to the press recently, says a major system disturbance caused what was the major blackout we witnessed over the weekend in some parts, especially of the Greater Accra, Western, Central, Middle and Northern parts of the country. So here's the explanation from Gridco for you in terms of what accounted for that power outage. It reads that at 7:52 on Saturday, May 7, 2022, the power system experienced a system disturbance due to faulted equipment on the Takrady Extension Winneba line. Now, consequently, all generating plants, which is Abuazi, Tema, we have the Kpong Tema plant as well, and also Kpong, were forced to shut down. This caused forced outages within the coastal corridor of the national grid, which led to power supply interruptions in some parts of the greater Western, Central, Middle, and Northern parts of the country. Now, the statement further explains that, however, the Akosombo and Tema plants actually continue to be in service, supplying power, restoring, and then we know that restoration began immediately, and supply was restored to all bulk supply points by 11:29 of that same day. Now, Gridco is assuring its valued stakeholders that it will continue to work towards the provision of reliable power system for Ghana's socio-economic development. And they further went on to apologize for the major outages that were witnessed over the weekend. That was the explanation that we got from Gridco. In fact, government had earlier on indicated clearly what was accounting for some other experiences that we're having across the country. But there's a concern coming through that may not entirely be the case. The fact that we may be returning closer and closer to dumsor. Well, I caught up with the chief policy analyst for the Ghana Institute for Public Policy Options, Dr. Charles Wereko-Brobby, who says that there are clear signs that the country is inching closer to a power crisis. Now, he commented on the recent proposal by the Electricity Company of Ghana, also asking the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission to do an upward adjustment of tariffs. Listen. We know that the utility organizations or state-owned enterprises, including ECG, they are making a demand for an upward adjustment of tariffs. For instance, ECG is asking for over 100% in terms of upward adjustment from the TURC.
I thought they were asking for 148.
Yeah. What's your take on the recent demands that we're getting from these state-owned agencies?
As I know it, there is a major review of tariffs every 3 years. So I believe the last one was done in 1992, then in 2019. So we are in 2022, so the review time is due. I cannot comment on whether the specific demand of 148 is adequate or truly reflects. But what ECG demands reflects, because they are the people to whom we pay our tariffs, it must also reflect the cost of production that VRA, BUI, and IPPs have to do. Then Gridco's transmission costs, because if they don't carry the electricity, nothing happens. Then ECG's net cost for bringing a thing to our home. So the law is that the total cost for producing electricity and for sending it to our home must be covered by the tariff, as must the cost of making sure they have enough money to replace their assets. So that there is a need for a tariff review, I have no doubt. What we need to question is that just as you and I, every other week we have to look at a review of petrol prices, the automatic adjustment formula also exists for electricity. But for some reason, under this regime, we have not applied the automatic formula.
Right.
It was supposed to apply every quarter, every 3 months. So instead of having a principle of little drops of water, we now have a mighty ocean all in one.
Right.
So that, I believe, accounts for the very substantial increase that they have asked for. Of course, the increase must also make sure that they operate efficiently, so they don't make losses that we have to pay for, and all of that. So it is necessary to adjust, and it is necessary to review. How much, I cannot say at this moment.
But you are the expert and you understand how the PRC arrives at the final pricing. What do you see happening at the end of the day? Because Ghanaians are very much concerned, waiting to see if they would have to take on the 148% increment altogether.
I don't think in the end the 148 will happen. But I think it works on the I get the philosophy of ask big and settle for what might be deemed to be appropriate. That's the work of PURC. That you ask for the moon and they decide that a small star is good for you. So the PURC in the end will look at all the details of the request added. And then, but see, when you look at the whole thing, you think that oil prices have gone up substantially. That's why petrol prices have gone up. So naturally, you also expect that gas, which is now the major fuel for power generation in Ghana, would also have gone up, except that in some places like Asogli, we still use oil. And so when you look at that fact and look at the fact that our exchange rate has deteriorated quite a lot. And you look at some of the major inputs that are also imported, you'd expect that adjustments for these will bring up the rise. So there is absolutely no doubt that Ghanaians must pay more. The question then becomes, how much should they pay? And the question then becomes, is it reasonable? In my working time, I also used to say that if you think electricity is expensive, try buy a candle. If you buy a candle and put it in your room to light your room up, apart from the huge expense, it's actually on a unit cost basis, it's about 4 or 5 times the unit of electricity that you pay for. So there's no doubt that of all the options that are available, electricity is the cheapest in terms of, and also the safest in terms of providing lighting for us. Nobody likes to pay more, but if you want to sleep in darkness, don't pay. If you want to sleep in light and chill your beer and watch your Netflix, etc., etc., be prepared to pay. But there's also the other added factor that there's a substantial waste in electricity, and Ghanaians need to be aware that energy efficiency and conservation can actually reduce your electricity bill by up to 50 or even 60%. So little things like turning off lights when you don't need it, turning off your standby power because you are too lazy to get up and go and switch it off at the appliance, boiling a bucket of water when you only need a cup of tea. Those are little things which we can all do to reduce the amount of power that you need.
Yeah, Doc, and since you're talking about that point, some also say that ECG should also be responsible in that regard in terms of checking power losses. They talk about power losses accounting for some 28%
but in fact,
in their report as well.
Yeah, PURC takes account of that, but they indicate the allowable power losses which are due to technical. Simply selling power to your home, there's some losses on the line. But the losses that come from theft and the inefficient are not allowed, they should not be allowed. And therefore, in fact, when I was actively involved, one of the first things that you look at when utilities ask for tariff is to look at the level of losses and to see which of those losses are allowable losses and which are things they can do something about. I think people are more worried about the reliability and the quality of the power that they get than the price. In Ghana, they have what they call, what do you call it, the low voltage.
Yes.
You know, which is a major problem. It destroys appliance, power fluctuations, destroys appliance, and so you need high reliability and high quality, and that is very, very important to ensure that when the consumer pays for the power, they get what they are paid for.
Since we're talking about reliability of power, we know that we're peaking somewhere around over 3,000 megawatts, but the ECG is also projecting that may grow with time to some 5,000 megawatts by 2026. That's their projection. Given that situation, do we need to expand our production capacity, or what do we need to put into account to ensure
we always
that
have to expand?
power?
We always have to expand,
right?
Because if we didn't expand, and we still, for example, I remember 30 years ago, I wrote an editorial opinion, which I titled "Akusubunkania Asa." You know, if we hadn't started using thermal power from 20 to 25, 30 years ago, half of the country will be in darkness. You don't forget, you wouldn't remember, but in 1989, we set out a very ambitious program to electrify the whole country. Only about 15% of the country had access. And we set out a program of 30 years to make sure that everywhere in Ghana had electricity within 30 years. So there's been an expansion of need, there's been an expansion of demand as the world goes more and more electrical and electronic. We are very ambitious in our industrialization agenda, where we are saying that, for example, we want to go from raw bauxite to alumina to finished product. We want to do similarly with iron works and all of that. These are some of the most power-intensive industries that should come. So there's no doubt. You know, I mean, at the beginning of this administration, there was a lot of talk about excess capacity. Precisely. But that excess capacity is not there at all, long gone.
No, we don't have it?
You know, you have to have, you have to talk about reliable capacity. Right. You know, you cannot, the capacity they talk